What is going on, everybody? Taylor here, and today I'm going to be talking about one of the most difficult films that I've had to sit through this year, Beautiful Boy. Now, Beautiful Boy is a film that I've been looking forward to see since I saw the first trailer. I knew it was a movie that was absolutely going to destroy me, that I wasn't going to be able to get through without crying at least once. And oh boy, did it destroy me. This movie was so rough, and I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way. It is a very raw, very real, very genuine, authentic kind of movie. The story itself isn't really the compelling part. It is a great story with a great message, but the way that it's told doesn't hold up well on its own. Without Steve Carell and without Timothée Chalamet, this movie doesn't do what it's able to do. This movie's major strengths are the acting performances of those two, without a doubt. Without a doubt, they are the heartbeat of this movie. And I really think that Steve Carell deserves a lot of props for what he was able to do in this movie, because as someone who is a father and has a child that is struggling with an addiction that he doesn't fully understand and that he didn't see coming, and that is really just shaking his whole world, to handle it the way that Steve Carell was able to, with such care, that he was able to show us that he was confused and that he was desperate, and that at times he was angry, and there were times where he is sad, and there are times where he just is, his heart is in the right place, but he's not coming to things the right way. And it's just very real in the sense that he loves his son more than anything in the world, and you see that. But at the same time, he's trying to balance how to help his son, who at times is willing to get help and at times does not want anyone's help and thinks that he's fine and thinks he can handle it on his own, and falls everywhere in between on that spectrum throughout the film. One of the many challenges that Steve Carell faces in this role is how to be authentic with how you would feel dealing with that, because there are times when, as much as he wants to put everything he has into helping his son, he also has the rest of his family to care about, that he has to be there for emotionally and physically and mentally, and he has a really hard time, as you can imagine, trying to balance that out, trying to be the dad for the son that is on this path to absolute destruction, and his other kids and his wife. And it's tough to watch. It's very, very tough to watch, because your heart just breaks knowing that either way, he can't really win here. If he completely shuts out his son, who he doesn't even know if he can help, but more than anything wants to help, if he completely shuts him out, there's a chance that, he never will recover. But if he keeps trying to give so much of his attention to his son and neglects his other children and his wife, that whole family could fall apart too. And that's such a delicate balance that they play with in this movie that I think is done so well, especially with not completely isolating the other kids from the story. They show how it affects his other children and the parts of their lives that it touches, which I think is so important to do. And on the other side, Timothée Chalamet plays this role once again so authentically. Just the struggles that his character deals with in terms of, as I mentioned before, going from wanting to get help to thinking he can handle it on his own, to thinking he doesn't need help, to thinking that he's completely fixed it after 1 or 2 stints in rehab. And it's such a journey to go on with him, to see all these different stages that he goes through emotionally and physically. And we just really get to see this play out in terms of what this addiction can do to you and how it can control your life if you let it, and how outside influences can help and can hurt, and really what it's just like to be in this world. And now I know that this specific example and this specific instance isn't how it is for everyone, and that it can be extremely different for everyone with substance issues or addiction issues or whatever illness that you're struggling with. This is just one example in so many that so many people are dealing with right now. But this example hit me so hard, and there were so many times in this movie where I was just straight up just crying, just forever flow of tears. And there were so many moments when if I didn't have my partner next to me and I wasn't able to shield myself in his shoulder and kind of have him help me through not watching moments that I could not handle watching. I don't know if I would have been able to sit through this entire movie if I had gone by myself, like I do to a lot of movies. There are times when I go to movies by myself and it's fine, but this experience I don't think I would have been able to handle without help. And once again, that's not to say it's because it's a bad movie. There are scenes that, if you're sensitive to this kind of content, they can be hard to watch. They get pretty blatant with a lot of things. They don't sugarcoat any of this stuff, and you see a lot of things that may make you uncomfortable without giving... I don't believe this is a spoiler. You know, you see him actually injecting drugs into himself, and if you have a phobia of needles or seeing needles or any of that kind of stuff, that can trigger you. And there are scenes that just get pretty intense and pretty serious and can, and that can be hard to watch. And for me, it was hard to watch, but I'm glad my partner was there so that I could get through this movie and actually watch the whole thing, because it was definitely worth watching. I thought the story itself was great. I don't know if the way that it was really, directed and put together was as good as it could have been. I think that this movie really suffers from what a lot of films I think this year suffer from, is where the performances are a lot better than the movie itself. The movie itself that we're getting is fine, but it's not fantastic. It's really the performances that pull it up to that level of being something that I consider really special. So if this is the kind of movie that you're interested in, that you think you can handle with that kind of subject matter and seeing those kind of things, I would really recommend it. It is not a movie I think that I will ever rewatch, to be completely honest with you. I don't know if I can do that again, just because how much of a journey it was for me to watch and how much of an up and down emotional rough experience it was for me. And that's really all I can say about it, because if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil certain things for you. And I know people are going to say, but it's based on 2 books that have been out, and so it's not really a spoiler. And I know that it's possible for people to really know this story and have researched it and to have read these books, and I get that. But for me, I still don't really want to give too much away if you don't really know a lot about how exactly the story unfolds, or, if you want to go into this and really get to have your own experience with it without me putting too much into your head about it. But just know that for me, it was tough to get through, but I'm really glad that I did it, and I'm really hoping that we'll see nominations for Timothée Chalamet and hopefully Steve Carell between this and between Vice, when Vice comes out, if it ends up being as good as I'm pretty sure it's going to be. I'm hoping that Steve Carell gets something this year as well. But what do you guys think? Have you seen this movie? If you have, please comment. Let me know your thoughts, what your experience was watching it, if you had a tough time like me. As always, thank you guys so much for all of your support. If you're interested, the links to my social media are down in the description. My link to my movie review blog is also down there, where I like to type out some of my reviews, sometimes get my thoughts put into words that way, so feel free to check that out as well. And as always, I will see you guys next time.